Alright, today's video is going to be on addition and subtraction with scientific notation. Numbers in scientific notation can only be added or subtracted if they have the same exponents. So we need to have times 10 to the third and 10 times 10 to the third. Both of those have to have the same power. 10 raised to the same power. If needed, an intermediate step beforehand can be used to rewrite one of the numbers so that it has the same exponent as the other. So we can rewrite them so they would have the same exponent if needed. And we're subtracting here. We need to have the same exponents. We have the same exponents in order to add or subtract numbers in scientific notation. If the power of 10 is the same, then we add / subtract the numbers. And we even add in here, leave the power of 10 alone. We do not change the power of 10 when we do this. We're going to leave that part alone. We just add, subtract the actual numbers. So here's the simplest example of addition. So we have these two numbers in scientific notation we want to add. Since the exponents are the same, they both have 3, we're just going to add the coefficients. We're going to add those base numbers, numbers that we had multiplied together. And if you think about this problem, remember 10 to the third is 10 times 10 times 10 for 1,000. This is really like 1,000 and 1,000. So it's 4.0 thousand times or plus 5.3 thousand. We add the base numbers. We are adding the two numbers, and we keep it as 1,000. So we add those and get our 9.3, and we keep the times 10 to the third. That does not change. We leave that part alone. So we're going to add those base numbers. For those subtraction problem, we would subtract. Here's another example. This one might has an additional step involved here. So this problem is only slightly more difficult because you have to add one extra step at the end here. So same type of problem, we're going to add 8.3 and 5.3. So we're going to add those together. 8.0 plus 5.3, that comes out to be 13.3, right? So they put right there. It's still times 10 to the third. That's not changing. We have the same exponents. We can add them, subtract them easily. We keep that same exponent. It's still 10 to the third. It's not 10 to the sixth. It stays the same. But this is not in scientific notation form. We want a number between 1 and 10. 13.3 is not between 1 and 10. Okay? You can see down here it says 13.3 is greater than 10, right? So we're going to rewrite it. We're going to move that decimal over one more spot, put it between the 1 and the 3. And since I move over one more, I have to add one more to my exponent. So my exponent now is going to be 10 to the fourth power. Okay? So I just need to make sure at the end my number is back in scientific notation form. You are going to do the first two problems on your own, and we're going to look at those in class. You need to make sure you have those done. That's going to be part of your homework here. Instead of having problems at the end of the video, you're going to do those two problems on your paper. I want to look at the third problem here. We're going to look at that one. Because this is a problem where we don't have the same exponents. We have a 9 and a 10. Right? It's not raised to the same power. So I have to do one step in between. I want to make them both into smaller little exponents. So I'm going to leave this here, 2.1 times 10 to the 9th. If I move this decimal back one spot, that would change that from a 10 to a 9. So it would be plus 52 times 10 to the 9. I know it's not in scientific notation form, but now I can easily add these. Right? 52 plus 2.1. So that would be 0.0 if you want to put that in there. 1, 4, 5. 54.1 times 10 to the 9th. If you don't want to leave it as 54, it's not between 1 and 10. So I'll move that decimal back over here 1. Since I moved it back one more, I can add one more on that 9. So that would be my answer right there. So even though they're not the same, I can make the exponents the same. I can make the exponents the same by moving that decimal. I could actually find them both 10 tenths. If I move this decimal one more spot over, give me 0.21. So that's adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting is actually a little bit harder than the multiplication and division. Now I think it's going to get a little bit easier. Multiplying and dividing. Right? We do not need the same powers of 10. Right? We don't need the same power of 10 in order to multiply or divide numbers inside the notation. We're going to multiply or divide the number, that's that number we have between 1 and 10, and use the exponent rules with the powers of 10. Right, we're going to use the exponent rules with the power of 10. So here's the steps. We're going to multiply the coefficients. Those are the numbers there. We're going to multiply the powers of 10 and combine the results. Make sure in the proper form. So here they have an example. They're going to multiply the coefficients. 6.0 times 2.5 is 15. We're going to multiply the powers of 10. 10 to the 4th times 10 to the 2nd. We add the exponents and get 10 to the 6th. Combine them together, it's going to be 15 times 10 to the 6th, so I get that right here. And lastly, I got to make sure it's in scientific notation. 15 is not between 1 and 0, so I got to move that decimal over 1, which means I add 1 onto my 6. And I get 1.5 times 10 to the 7th power. Another example here real quick. We multiply the coefficients. So we're going to take 4.8 times 9.0, or 9. Right? You can use your calculator, right, to do this if you need to. I don't have the calculator on me, so I'll just do it here on paper. 9 times 4 is 36, plus 7 is 43. One number in the decimal, so I get 43.2. Multiply my powers of 10. Now you don't have to write each of these steps when you're doing this on your own. I would probably do both steps here at the same level, especially when I'm using a calculator here. Okay. Here, 6 times -8. Sorry, we add these, right? We add our exponents, so 6 plus -8 is a -2. We don't have to simplify that for scientific notation. We want to leave it as just 10, not 1 over 10. So combine them. 43.2 times 10 to the -2nd power. I'm going to move that decimal one spot this direction. Which means I'm going to add 1 to that number. So I get 4.32 times 10 Negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. So that would be it in scientific notation. Dividing is the exact same as multiplying, except for we're just going to divide the coefficients and we're going to divide the powers. Everything else is exactly the same. You can look at this example here. Everything's exactly the same. I take the two numbers, and I divide the numbers. I get 0.6. I take the powers of 10 and divide them. Remember when I divide, it's 6 minus 2, right? I subtract the exponents instead of add. I get 10 to the fourth power. Make sure that my answer is between 1 and 10. 0.6 is not between 1 and 10, right? I'm going to move the decimal that way, the opposite way. I had to move it to the left. Now I'm moving it to the right one spot, so I got to take 1 away. Okay. From 4, it gives me 6.0 times 10 to the third power. One more example here. I divide the coefficients. So I'm going to take 4.4 divided by 1.1. That's going to equal 4. Because I know 4 times 11 equals 44, so it's going to kind of be the same type of problem here. I'm going to take 10 to the 6th power divided by 10 to the negative 3rd power. I'm going to take these and subtract the exponents. 6 minus negative 3rd. I'm subtracting integers, add the opposites. It really becomes 6 plus 3. 6 plus 3 is 9, 10 to the 9th power. So I get 4 times 10 to the 9th power. That is fine. So that would be my answer. 4 is between 1 and 10. There's my answer. 4 times 10 to the 9th power. Just like with the addition subtraction, you are going to do the first 2 problems on that paper then underneath. I'm going to do the last problem with you guys. Just to make sure you guys, the last problem is the hard one. I'll make sure you guys understand this one and have this as reference. Right? So we're going to take these and we're going to multiply our base numbers. 5.3 times 4.8. What's going to, if you are using a calculator, it's fine. Right? You can use a calculator for this. Right? I have no problem with you multiplying these numbers on the calculator. 12, 21, 4, 5, 2. 2 numbers behind the decimal, so I need 2 numbers behind the decimal, my answer. 25.44. Right? So I'm at 25.44 times 10. And now I look at up here, I have 10 to the negative 8 minus 10 to the 4th, right? I'm going to subtract those exponents. Right? So maybe I want to use my add the opposite, change that to addition, change that to positive. Negative 8 plus positive 4. That's going to give me an exponent of negative 4. Last step then would be to make sure this is in scientific notation form. Move that decimal over 1 spot. 2.544. I moved it 1 spot to the left. Add 1 times 10 to the negative 3rd power. Make sure for class you have those 4 problems on your worksheet on your notes that we did not go over. Make sure you have those done. There are no questions to answer online. You're going to have those 4 done. I will check them while you're working on your problem today. I'll have 4 people put them up on the board. I will see you tomorrow.